Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to start this episode with a content warning. This is an episode that talks a bit about Alaina's experience being molested. It's more of a lighthearted conversation. We get into her foray into stand-up comedy, how she's turned what happened to her into a special called Untouchable. I wanted to have a conversation that was less about her as a victim and more about her work and her life since then. We also get into, what it's like to be molested by someone who is a famous perpetrator. Yeah, Alaina's altogether great. I hope you enjoy this conversation. I'm also editing the show now, so take that into consideration as well. I'm getting better. Take care of yourselves during this episode, and I hope you enjoy. We do have fun. It's a funny episode because Alaina's a comedian, so don't worry. Okay, bye.
You told a lot of lies about achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape, trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fogs. It's 1,000 natural shocks. A Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Dunn. And with me today we have Alaina. Do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Alana Bamfield. I'm a stand-up comedian. I live in New York City. Stand-up comedy is kind of the only thing I do, which I realize is not profitable in the world of comedy. Working on some other things to see if I like them, writing and stuff like that. But mostly stand-up comedy. I have a special out for free on YouTube right now called Untouchable. That's kind of what I've been throwing myself into for the past year. So now I'm kind of exploring what comes after that.
You said you've been working on the special for 6 years.
Just about. When I say that, it kind of is when I first started stand-up 6 years ago, I was writing jokes about getting, also, hi everyone, I got molested by Larry Nassar, and that's what the special's about, so trigger warning. So I basically was just writing all these jokes about getting abused under the guise of medical treatment, pretty early on in my career. And then 3 years into stand-up in Michigan is where I'm from, I decided to make the move over to Brooklyn. I guess I took a break from it. I didn't want to be the girl that got molested. I've always been afraid of especially with putting a special out that, would put me in some sort of box, I guess. I knew I wanted to do a special but I knew that putting a special out, my ultimate goal would be to do some sort of tour out of that. And I didn't want to necessarily have to keep doing the I got molested stuff because it's hard. I mean, it's so amazing when it goes great, and then when it goes bad, it keeps you up at night. But I really wanted to focus on getting a good 45 minutes to an hour that I could do that's just totally not about getting molested. So I really focused on that once I made the move to New York. And then once I felt like I had that, I was okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and set a date for the distant future. But I think I gave myself 10 months before recording to really lock in and work on the jokes and just do that. So it was a really weird 10 months of, even the open mics, the 3-minute open mics being hey, what's up? I got molested. It's not that interesting. You just need to know so I can say this. But yeah, so I guess I have collectively been working on it for 6 years. And it's who was the artist that made the drawing on the subway and then in 10 seconds and then gave it to the lady and said that's $10,000 and and she was you did that in 10 seconds and he's no, I did that in 20. It took me 20 years, 6 years, but really hyper focused on it for the last 10 months of my career, I would say.
And when you said it goes bad, it's interesting because I don't think we have that much material by people who have that experience, who have been molested, who have that experience, versus people just making jokes about it.
About it in general.
Yeah. And you think this is maybe like a purge of that material?
I'm hoping, I mean, I guess I will do it again if needed or for the right opportunity. But it was, for me at least, it was kind of a thing where it's like, this is, over the last 6 years, I've gathered a half hour of material that I trimmed down to 24 minutes, I think, almost 25. And it was kind of inspired, not caring about the length of time, was kind of inspired by the Jordan Jensen Death Chunk thing that she put out like years ago, which was, I think, like a 19-minute thing just from the middle of her set when she was like, I'm just going to talk about death for a minute if that's okay with everybody. And so I found that very inspiring in the way that it's like, this is just, I'm just going to get as much as I have to say about it and get it out. And that's kind of all I got. Yeah. I like, this is what I think and that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. Do you have, going in, people usually know, or you just kind of, it's so weird because people are so weird about comedy, about this kind of stuff. And so what's the prep for that? Or what's the, like for the special, let's say people go in, they know.
Yes. It was probably the easiest performance of the material just because everyone going to it knew exactly what they were walking into. That was like one of the biggest hurdles and challenges for figuring out how to work on this material successfully, was figuring out like a way to start. Like, how do you start? Which is also kind of, I guess, why it became its own thing that I wanted to put out separately from my other material, just because it didn't feel like it fit in my act. I mean, I could make it transition in, but you don't pivot out of it very easily. You kind of have to end on it or not talk about it at all. Sam Talent, who's an amazing person and headliner that I work with frequently, he actually put my special out on his YouTube because he's doing better than me. But he was like, oh, come out, do this weekend featuring for me. I don't care how it goes. Just do, you know what I mean? Do your material. I'll give you 30 minutes to run whatever you wanted to run. And that was, I think, super pivotal because that was in October. So it was a month before I recorded the special. So I really figured out a lot in that, 5-show weekend of doing 30 minutes. I basically just kind of found that maybe there's a more masterful way to get over the hurdle too, but I just kind of started by being like, hey, I'm going to talk about getting molested. Is that cool? People are a little hesitant at first, and I don't know. And I guess when I say going bad, it just like, it's a different kind of bomb where you like are fully, no one's talking. Sometimes you're bombing and people are talking over you because they're just not into it anymore. Like, it's like bombing in front of people that are like fully captivated, waiting to hear what you're going to say next. And sometimes they get into sometimes the asshole clenches so tight that they can't get out of the feeling bad for you, feeling, which is not what you want when you're doing stand-up comedy. So a little bit of that. And then in the beginning, I think maybe some of the jokes were a little less well-crafted and maybe a little bit more like blunt or shocking before I figured out how to tailor it to like a more general palette, I guess. And so in the beginning also, like sometimes people will be like, hey, I love what you're doing, right, but like this joke, the way you said it was like too much for me, like as someone who was like also abused. And so that was also very eye-opening. But honestly, just performing it as much as you can in front of as many people as possible was the best thing for my confidence and feeling good about, because I feel, sorry, I'm talking so much, but like,
it's a podcast. You're supposed to. What do you mean?
Okay. I don't know. I'm just rambling, but like, I just feel like it's such an interesting thing to do a special about as the person that's doing it, just because I became so aware of how like wide the net is for the topic that I'm talking about, where like, I mean, and the statistics are obviously flawed, but it's like 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 3 boys, for lack of a better phrase. I guess it touches everybody from like all different, demographics of life. And so,
yeah,
it was important to me to make sure that like the target audience, the people that went through that would laugh the hardest, I guess, is what I want. And I know that's not going to happen for everybody because everyone handles things differently and comedy's weird. But for the most part, I've gotten like a good response, which has uplifted me in ways I didn't know possible. So I'm happy.
In what ways?
Because I was just afraid, because like it doesn't feel good to have someone be like, hey, I love that you're using your voice, but it made me feel uncomfortable tonight. Like in the beginning, that really did something to me. Yeah, it stuck with me very hard, and I was like, I don't want, even if I think it's funny, I don't want it to be like objectively insensitive in another person's eyes. I know I can't control everything, but I don't know, just a little bit of that. Just being like ultra aware. Also I've heard quite a few Larry Nassar jokes as a comedian in the audience, and it's not that no one can joke about it, but it felt like it was more at my expense than his, most of the ones I heard. And so one time there was this girl telling a joke about it, and she like asked if anyone was from Michigan, didn't know I was a comic in the audience, and I like raised my hand. And they were like, oh, this girl's from Michigan. He got her. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh, you're too on the nose. You know what I mean? There's been so many experiences from being both an audience member in stand-up comedy and also just making innocent mistakes on stage that have taught me that or reminded me that you just don't know what's going on with anybody at any point in time. So
your style is very joke, 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 joke. Like it's very tight in terms of like the jokes hitting one after the other. Was that always how you did things, or was that a mark of I just need to not let people sit in this too long? I need the audience to understand that this is going to be funny the whole way through.
I think the latter on that one. But I think that that's how I am in comedy all the time, though, not just with that material. And it's something that I like personally have decided to work on recently, which is just kind of like letting them laugh a little bit longer before I start the next thing. But yeah, there is that like panic of like, before you stop laughing, here's something else.
Yeah. I mean, it works. There's plenty of comics that do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like I've got like a decent idea of like what my voice is on stage, but there's still like some things about my performance that I'd like to clean up to be like a little bit more professional. The way I'm talking and like the excitement I'm using is something I want to keep, but I would like the pacing and cadence to just be a little more well-timed, especially now looking back on the special.
Do you think that kind of takes, weirdly, like bravery to let it sit, or to let it, I'm going to give you the space to laugh and I feel confident about that?
Yeah, yes, I think like I am like a coward in the silence. I don't like it. Like I'm like, oh, it's like being in the dark. I'm like, oh no, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel like I could start bombing at any moment, which I think is a thing that just comes with more time and confidence too, of just knowing. And I think I know I won't, but there's like a devil on my shoulder being like, keep going, don't stop, run out of air.
Why stand-up comedy?
It really just hit my life at a random moment where I was vulnerable, like it does for most of us, I think. I was working at an insurance company, like in the mailroom, listening to podcasts all day long. I was dating my high school sweetheart. I had just gotten him a job in the mailroom with me, knowing that we were going to break up soon. Like it wasn't like going well, but also like I was like, this motherfucker needs health insurance. Like he needs a therapist. I can't leave him like this. So not my responsibility, but whatever. Was the situation. He had just started getting really into stand-up comedy, so he was playing it all the time in the house. And I'd heard an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with like Nikki Glazer, and she was just kind of talking about starting stand-up, I think at like 19 or something like that. I was 22, 21 at the time when this like seed was planted essentially. And then he and I broke up, and I was just kind of like, damn, what am I going to do? And then in like 2 months later, he started dating our like coworker that we both had in the same office. And so then I was like, you know what? I've already thought about trying stand-up comedy for a while. Did start doing it while I was still working at the office, but I did eventually quit and started bartending and just doing like full-time stand-up and bartending in Michigan, which I was in like a good state. So I was like lucky that I could do it, like make money doing showcases. Like in my first year of doing stand-up, I got paid, which was awesome. And yeah, essentially just a breakup and him dating our coworker nearly sent me into psychosis. And then I did an open mic around the corner from my house, and I just kind of never stopped after that. I did drink for an entire summer after the breakup. And then that fall of 2019, I started stand up for 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months before COVID shut everything down.
Was it mostly talking about the breakup, or when did you start talking about the Larry Nassar stuff?
It was the breakup stuff initially. A lot of breakup stuff, a lot of I have no boobs stuff. A lot of the breakup stuff eventually led into like other hookup stories, and I think it initially started because I dated this one dude and he was like, or like had slept with this guy. We were never serious, but he would hate to hear that I said we were dating. But he was like into like this whole like massage fetish thing, and that's like where the first joke transpired from, where I was like, I can't do that, like, I don't know, like sort of like, what are you, my doctor sort of thing. But yeah, so I think the breakup jokes led into the I got molested stuff. And then people were like, that's really good. You should talk about that more. So I did. I don't know.
It is interesting that it's someone that comes up in other people's stand-up.
It is really interesting. People use them as like a comparison to things a lot.
What do you mean?
It'll be like a thing where it's like, oh, that's like going to Larry Nassar and like not getting touched or something, like getting no money. Or like a lot of like references to like gymnastics camp, which is, his sort of thing. And then like, I haven't heard like a ton of them, but like I've heard it out. You know what I mean? I've heard enough. I think even like, and I'm not offended by this at all, but even like Nikki Glaser on like a Comedians of the World, one of her closing jokes was about Larry Nassar, like sort of in a backwards way, talking about like getting fingered poorly by a guy. And the punchline was along the lines of like, well, I know that gymnastics doctor is controversial, but maybe we could try some of his techniques.
Oh my God.
But like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like the most relevant reference that people use like all the time, but like I've heard it and I notice it because obviously,
Yeah.
And then some people have like bad jokes that I just think are like lazy and suck, and those are mostly people that don't really matter, but I also don't really matter, so I have to see them all the time. Like, so it affects me.
One of my favorite jokes from your special was about, I guess he got stabbed in prison and then everyone was texting you.
Yeah, everyone was, here's your guy, check it out, don't you want to see this? It happened to me yesterday because some Instagram shared like an infographic with like a picture of him saying that he had been like stabbed in prison, and it got sent to me yesterday. Someone was like, congratulations, and I was like, this is from 3 years ago.
That is so bold to send that.
It is. It's a little crazy, like I'm like, you guys are, I guess it's because I put out a comedy special, so people are just like, you have no issues with this anymore. But like, also like, I don't know, dude, if you're sending me something that's like making it seem like my abuser died, it's gonna shake my day up one way or another, When he actually did get stabbed like 3 years ago, it was an insane day of people just calling me. It was crazy. I was like, is he dead? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, this response is wild. Like, not that I want him dead, but like, holy shit,
You're at the coffee shop, you like open your phone, it's just jump scare after jump scare. Like, what the hell? Does that happen with the press coming to you too?
No, I have been so blessed to be so relatively insignificant as far as this case goes. Just with like, I mean, if you think of some of like the like high profile like athletes that are involved, I'm sure they have had a hell of a time with the press. But little me from Williamston, Michigan, they do not care. Maybe now with the special out, maybe someone will reach out, but it's mostly just been like podcasts, which have honestly been great. I was like scared to do podcasts a little bit because you never know what someone's going to say. But I've had like a great time talking to great people about it so far because Debbie's awesome at her job. So
shout out to Debbie, the publicist.
Shout out to Debbie Pressman.
Now, when you go and do stand up, are you doing completely different sets?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun because, like I said, I had the 45 minutes before I started working on the special, but I worked on the special for so long, like kind of almost a year, that 45 minutes like feels new again. And it's really been fun to work on and kind of like rewrite a bunch of stuff now that I feel like a better comic after the special, like after working on all of the dark material and putting it together. Because also it's the first time I ever like made something, and had to like really like think about like a timeline of jokes and events for, the art that I'm trying to achieve, I guess. But I've been talking a lot about my family. I kind of grew up in I had a very weird childhood. Me and my brother were latchkey kids for a little while. And then my dad lost his job in like 2006 or something like that, started his own at-home construction business. And then the recession happened. And so everything just kind of went to shit. But the same year that the recession happened, Michigan legalized medical marijuana. So then all of a sudden, me and my brother just weren't allowed to go in the basement anymore. And there was 64 pot plants down there for the next 18 years of my life. He eventually built a pole barn and moved it out of there. But so I grew up like as this weird, we didn't have a lot of neighbors. There was a rental house and old people next to us. So we were like borderline unsocialized in the 90th percentile for like at the low end of weight. And like, I don't know, we were just like these string bean, literal like children of the corn children. And not socialized, smelled bad. I think each of us had like one or two friends at school sort of thing. So we did a lot of like hanging out together and being funny. So I've been trying to write a lot about that. Like and my dad's also very much into God. So I'm like the daughter of this God-fearing pot farmer. And how do I make that funny and relatable? So I've just been trying to explore like, I guess more of the family side of things. I do have a ton of material that is about breakups and stuff because I've had a few relationships since I started stand-up comedy. So I guess right now I'm trying to decide if I would like to, because I don't think every special needs to be about something or like everything you put out needs to be like themed. But the stuff that I had previously was much more about like relationships and myself, and the stuff that I've been writing and been excited to work on since the special came out has been like very family oriented and growing up childhood stuff. So I'm kind of at a crossroads with deciding if I want to mix together or kind of hunker down on one or the other.
Right.
And do it that way. I love writing, so I'm not worried about it.
Your dad sounds like Manson.
Manson.
Into God and spirituality, but like kind of doing,
Yeah.
like kind of.
A little bit. Some hippie stuff.
Yeah. I just watched a video.
That's so funny.
I watched a video that was serial killers, I guess, talking. I don't forget what the thing was. It was Manson and was one of them. And in the same Reddit thread, someone was like, wow, I can really see how charismatic he is and like why people followed him. And then like two comments later, someone was like, this fucking crazy lunatic, I don't understand how he got anyone. And I was like, yeah, this is sort of the thing.
Yeah. You either do or you do not buy into that immediately.
Two people are watching that clip and getting absolutely different things from it.
Absolutely. It is insane. That's how I feel. That's me and my dad. We're the two different commenters. But he's great and I love him. We got to do a bunch of fun stuff with the money he made with the weed. So no complaints. It's kind of sucked being the stinky kid in school, but they flipped. All the kids started smoking weed and I became cool eventually. So it was okay. But
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
just very strange.
You smelled like weed?
Yeah, because we just had because my dad had 60 plants down there, and half of them would be blooming at a time. And so and he grew good weed. I'm not talking some dirt weed. It was good. It was very strong medical grade marijuana. I mean, we were my mom was having us put our backpacks in the trunk of her car so that they wouldn't smell like weed, because our school books would start smelling like pot. When we'd turn them in at the end of the school year, they would just smell like not smoked weed, but just wet, pungent, freshly grown and drying weed. It was hard. And then we do all this stuff to combat the smell. And my parents smoked weed on a card table in the laundry room of our house my whole childhood growing up. So I don't really know. But yeah, I smelled like the wrath of 60 pot plants at all times.
In the special, you do talk about your mom a little bit. How was that for her?
It was good for her. My favorite thing about that clip from the special is that the one that ended up in the actual cut of the special was from the first show, which had my family at it. When I say, you bitch, you took me to those appointments, it's me and my mom locking eyes and cackling together. and she loves all of the jokes that I've written about her. There's some that I've written since the special that she's like, yeah, maybe wait till I retire.
From her job?
Yeah,
Oh.
but she's always been a super fun lady, and she's always been able to take a joke. And the Larry Nassar, the whole thing was very hard for her, figuring out that. I remember when the news broke and she sent the article to me, and I like called her and told her, and she was like, what?
I'm sure.
You just totally just could not believe it. And I've done other podcasts that Debbie hasn't booked me on where it's been a little bit less sensitive, especially towards my mom. And I've had to be like, hey, whatever. Not that I love it, but you can make rape jokes at me all you want, but don't talk about my mom. I don't know. Because there also was a thing, it's like it's called a secondary survivor, right? So it's someone who was also impacted by abuse, but maybe wasn't, my mom didn't get molested by the guy, but there's a psychological aspect to going through all of that.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, I was just pretty proud that I wrote something. Those ones for me, I was like, my mom's my target audience and she loves it. And I liked my performance of those jokes the best because I can see maybe in ways that other people, like an outsider, couldn't see, like my confidence being really high in that moment because I'm like, my mom's here. And even if no one laughs, she's going to love it.
People are so judgmental when they have hindsight. I find it with a bunch of other stuff too. And I wish people could just have empathy and realize that you don't have all the information and they're working backwards to make these conclusions. You know what it is? It's because people think that a molestation is going to come from a stranger in an alley. They don't think that it's going to be people close to you. I think about the thing that some men say, which is, well, if all the men disappeared, who would protect you? And then the response is, from who?
From who? Yeah, protect us from who?
Because they think that it's going to be, again, someone in a dark alley, and they don't think it's going to be a guy you know. It's going to be the stepdad. It's going to be like, it's going to be your friend, buddy. Like, it's your friend.
It's your friend. And that's like, shout out to most men. It is your friend. And women, it's your friend.
Yeah.
No one is immune to it, to being fooled either, which is the other thing. It's like a duping, especially with my case specifically and all the other cases, like underneath the Larry Nassar umbrella. I think it's really important to keep in mind the status that this guy had, the accomplishments he had made, his standing within incredibly prestigious, things like the Olympics. My mom is the best mom ever because she took me to what she assumed was going to be the best doctor ever. And for her to receive any actual flack pisses me off. You can't reverse engineer how you would have not gotten your child molested because it just would never play out that way.
Right.
And who knows? And a lot of people that are making comments like that don't know that their child is being molested. So mind your fucking business, I guess is what I have to say. I had a joke in the special about everyone was super shocked, and I was like, and I think it's a goofy joke to be like, really? You guys are shocked? The guy's name's Larry. Sorry to all the Larrys out there. I guess the end of that joke is some of you might be thinking, I know a Larry and he's a really nice guy. And my question is, how well do you actually know Larry? It's a joke, but it's serious.
Well, I like the part where you're like, if he's a doctor, go by Lawrence.
Thank you.
It is. I was just talking to, again, why am I on Reddit so much? There was a guy, it was like an ACAB thread, and he was talking about how he's becoming a cop and he's doing it for the right reasons. And he just wants to help and change things from the inside. And I said, that's wonderful. I hope that when you witness your coworkers and your bosses doing bad things, that you will call them out and that you will file complaints. And he was like, I definitely will. And I was like, you won't.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, if it goes poorly, I'll just quit and go back to my old job. And I was like, that's so hard because you went through an academy, my dude. Like you
ran a mile for this.
Yeah. Retail's hard, but they didn't make me run a mile. You can't possibly know the power people will have over you.
That's a really good point. A really scary point, actually.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing. You're underestimating the embarrassment that you would feel coming forward.
Yeah, it's hard.
You're going to come forward about a coworker and then go back to work with that coworker? No, you won't.
Yeah, unless you fucking love confrontation.
Right.
It would be happening. If people were going to do it, it would be happening already.
Authority has so much power, even perceived authority.
Yes. There's like so many studies that prove that the best abusers they're like esteemed in their communities.
Right.
And you do have to have some sort of influence over another
Yeah.
to abuse in that way. And it's unfortunate and is a control issue. I think at the end of the day, there's something just truly wrong wiring wise.
I just watched this movie. I don't know why. This old movie called Malice. It's with Nicole Kidman and Alec Baldwin and Bill Pullman. Alec Baldwin is a surgeon, and he's like getting deposed for whatever he did. And he gives this speech
Okay.
about being a doctor. Okay, so he says, when your family is dying and sick, you're praying to God, but who has the actual power over whether your relative lives or dies? And then he just screams, I am God.
Oh, Jesus.
I think that might be, sorry to any surgeons out there, but I think that might be part of why some people in those positions are awful.
Yeah. Like a narcissism element.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge narcissistic element. It's a huge, I'm in control of everything. It's really demented.
It really is. It's like the illusion of like the superior knowledge they have that makes them so powerful. And not that they don't. I mean, doctors obviously know more than me, but that's why you listen to them because you're like, shit, I didn't go to medical school. Maybe I should stop vaping. But maybe they're wrong, Gabe. Maybe vaping is good for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes stronger children.
I mean, the whole thing, there's so much from the disability community about doctors talking down to you or thinking they know better.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows? I hear so many stories about people believing something about their bodies and then coming back and the doctor's like, no, and then it ends up being cancer. So who knows?
Yeah, doctors, they're kind of like meteorologists nowadays.
Oh my God.
Is it my period or is it cancer? God,
Well, for women especially.
Women, overweight people, anyone. I agree with you, actually. Now I'm taking back I'm actually like there. I think there's a narcissistic element. I think it's a class you take in med school. I don't know.
Yeah, they whisper to each other, I am God.
I am God, yeah. Blasphemy 101, that's what it's called.
I would love people to question authority figures more. Please.
Yeah, I do think we are. I think we're seeing it more. I don't remember exactly what the name of the guy, but I had some Instagram page share my reel from the special, and it was like victims of Dr. I think his first name was Stewart, and then I don't want to say a last name because if I get it wrong, that's horrible. You know what I mean? But there's so many people that have come out. I think the first real big hit for America and the doctors being rapists sort of thing was the Jerry Sandusky. And then shortly after following that was Larry Nassar. And I am traumatized, so I don't fucking remember anyone after that point. But I know there's been others that have come out. And so I think people are more aware of it now than ever. I think parents are more on top of what's going on with their kids at school and also at the doctor's office, which is unfortunate that it has to be that way, but I guess all you can hope for with the climate that I would imagine it would be hell raising kids with everything. My cousin just had a baby and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, let alone how you are going to mentally handle just letting her go off at some point.
My friend also had a baby and she was talking about how people are like, oh, what do you think he's going to be? And she's like, I don't even know. We all might have chips in our heads. I have no fucking idea. I don't even know what do you mean? What is he going to be? I don't even know. Are we going to be on this planet? Who knows?
Yeah. Will there even be jobs? Like,
she says that all the time. All the time she goes, will there even be jobs?
We got to get them on the computer now. That's the other thing. You have to give your kids a smartphone.
It's like no screen time. No, only screen time.
Only screen time. No paper. Paper makes your kids dumb. Cursive is unemployable. It's going to be horrible.
Oh my God. Well, God, so you were with your high school sweetheart. So then how is dating now? I don't know when. I guess that was 2019.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Me and my high school sweetheart broke up. And I still hold the next relationship in my heart. We're friends. We don't talk. But him and his new girlfriend came to my special recording. She made me cookies. Good relationship between the two of us. But I started stand-up comedy in Lansing, Michigan. There was maybe 7 to 10 comics total in that scene, just like a very small scene. And 5 of the comedians out of that scene lived in a house on MSU's campus. And I started dating one of them immediately when I started doing stand-up. Obviously, I learned a lot in that relationship, and there's other things that I gained from it. But I think the biggest thing was like God or the universe or whoever just I saw the trajectory I was on. I was drinking a lot before I started stand-up comedy. I was still drinking a lot when I had started stand-up comedy because it's a thing you can drink and do, or whatever, it's marketed that way. I think the best people don't, but anyways. But I was in such a spot in my life at 22 years old where I could have done anything and pivoted in any way. And I think had I not started dating somebody that had been doing comedy for 8 years at that point, that kind of just deeply loved it and wanted it to come back, I think it would have been really easy for me to put that down and walk away and just never try it again after everything opened back up. And then other than that, I've had one other boyfriend since I moved out here. He was at my special recording. He sucked, turns out. I literally sent a picture of him to my editor and I was like, this man cannot be in the special. I think we might have lost minutes of the special because I was like, I don't want his face in there.
How big is the room?
It was a 65 seat. It was pretty small. But there was like some
Okay.
like we basically used no B-roll or anything that we took from like before or after the show. Because he was just I literally was like, just use videos of me doing cheerleading. So it's been hard. It's been weird. I feel like I've slept with a lot of foot guys. I don't know where that's coming from. It almost seems like it's just like it's like missionary at this point. People are I'm just going to go for the toes now. And I'm like, I had plantar warts until I was 21, please. I've worn I started having barefoot sex at 23. So
I think you really have to ask some questions about foot health.
that is true.
Love your kink. I think that's great.
Yes.
I think you should be as aware of the foot's health as any other thing because you could get athletes.
Check out the toenails.
Yeah, you could get athlete's foot. You could get foot and mouth disease.
Yeah, hand, foot, mouth disease.
You could get, my friend got that from her baby.
Yeah, that's a daycare disease.
Yeah.
You can't be getting daycare diseases in the bedroom. That's fucking weird.
Right. You have to check. You have to have standards of checking. I was friends with a girl who was like a very good sex worker. And when I was a girl, she and I went to like a foot thing. You had to send a picture of your foot to the people to get approved.
Okay.
And I mean, thank God I transitioned because mine are not like great. They approved me and I was like, the bar is on the floor. The other girls were gorgeous and my friend is gorgeous. I was like, how did they let me in here? I was thinking that it was going to be private. So I kind of drove up to this. It was like an event center, like where you would have a quinceañera. There was a lot with an attendant. And I said, I'm here for the foot. And he was like, the foot thing? Okay, just park over there. It was like too much.
The foot thing? Oh my God. Like how many feet were in there, do you think?
I don't know. My friend made fun of me because she was like a workhorse. She was like going around. There was no talking, nothing like that. I was like, well, I feel like I should chat. So I was like chatting. Like I was like, oh, I'm like kind of girlfriend experience. I was like chatting.
Yeah.
But then she would come back around and have way more money than me. And then also say, stop talking to them. Like, you have to charge them to talk to them.
I don't know what that reminds me of. God, this might be too obscure, but there's this guy on Instagram and he has a dog. He has a pug that he charges $1 for people to pet. And when people come up to pet it, he fucking whips this stick out in front of them. And that's what it reminds me of being like, don't talk to them for free.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Like, I'm too excitable.
Oh, I would be too excitable too. I'd be talking way too much for free. Nervous talking too.
Or one of the feeling like I have to provide something else.
Other than the toes?
Yeah, like feeling like I have to sort of be like, so where are you from? It was better when it was one guy, I guess he was allowed. He set up kind of like a private area and he had champagne and this was like his night away from his wife that he was allowed to have.
Okay.
Like this was like he was like bawling out. And then like me and her went in together. So that was easier because then I was just chatting with her. Like we were literally just catching up.
Yeah, and just getting free drinks and fucking foot massages. That's awesome. I think I could do feet in a more community setting. I think that sounds like a more palatable way for me to explore if I even like foot stuff. But yeah, I moved to New York and I was like, they just like feet out here. I don't know what's going on. It's my takeaway.
The girl I do a lot of my work with, she has great feet. And she's like very prudish in a lot of ways, but she will just give feet away for free. She's putting them on Instagram.
That's crazy.
She's like, this is so unlike her. And I keep being like, you cannot keep giving this shit away.
Yeah.
But she's a 5 out of 5 on WikiFeet. So what do I know?
No way.
Yeah, but she one time was feed of the day, and she was so excited, and she was like telling her mom about it and stuff. It's just like so thrilled. But I was like, you're sitting on a gold mine,
Yeah. You're standing on a gold mine.
and
Yeah.
you're just giving it away for free. She broke her toe and then was posting about it all the time, and I was like, this isn't a deterrent.
People would straight up pay so much money for broken toe content. It's
That's what I'm
weird.
saying.
Yeah. Watching it heal.
That's how you know she comes from generational wealth.
Just throwing away a $500 package on OnlyFans.
It's been a delight talking to you.
It's been so great. Thank you so much for having me on.
What would you like to leave people with about your work? What would you hope people take away from the special? This was my other question. Have any like super cool people reached out to you about it, or?
I did. The coolest thing that's happened so far is that Nikki Glazer followed me, and she's obviously the seed that was planted for me to want to try and stuff. But she followed me, and then I messaged her and was like, I'm a huge fan. Thank you for the follow. And then she was like, I loved your special. And at that point, it only had 5,000 views. And so then I was like screeching in my apartment, and I messaged her back, and I was like, you're so awesome. I cannot believe that 5,000 people have watched my special, and you were one of them. Just full circle, sick ass moment. Loved that so much. And I guess what I want people to take away from it, I guess at risk of sounding like, I don't want to like act like I'm like the mouthpiece for everyone that's been abused, or, everyone has very different experiences. But I hope if you watch it and you are unfortunately a part of this community, that like it does something for you, like does something good for you. I hope you get a chuckle out of it. At worst, I hope you get a chuckle out of it. And at best, I hope that it inspires like you to find something that also helps you get out from underneath it, because it like depression and dwelling and PTSD and all of that stuff it weighs you down. And I think the most uplifting comment that I've gotten on the special is that it made someone want to like try again. And I cried for a while when I saw that, because I was bittersweet. So yeah, that's I guess what I would want people to take away from it. And I guess like on the flip side of that, I really, as a comic, as a comedian, I really wanted to put out something that was just jokes. I didn't want to do like an applause break moment. You know what I like moment like I don't know. I didn't want to be too sincere, for lack of a better word, because I don't want. This is all I've got to say. I would love for it to be a launching pad for like everything else I want to do in my career. And in no way do I want to come off as grifty, or I don't know. You know what I mean? I just don't. I genuinely want this to help the people that it's going to help. And then I really hope to be able to tour soon. And it's so silly because it's like, it's not going to pay all the bills, but like more than anything, I want to be able to like headline clubs across the country and bring my friends with me. I want to do the shit that I heard Nikki Glazer talk about on podcasts. Like, my heart would be so full if I could do that and make a little bit of money. I don't know if I answered all your questions or not.
No, you did. It's wild to have the worry about being a grifter about something that happened to you.
It is. And I think it goes back to being like, I don't want to be the girl that got molested. Like, there's just so many other things. I have so many other things to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Most things.
The cult that your dad tried to start.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, yeah, you guys don't even know that my dad's Charles Manson.
You guys have no idea. So yeah, so I just don't want to live in the shadow of got molested by Larry Nassar. And I don't want to run around and I don't know. It is interesting that I said that I don't want to be a grifter about it, but I do genuinely feel that way. So
it's weird because like he's a grifter, right? So
yeah, I guess the thing is that I just never want it to be like, oh, the girl's going to talk about getting molested again.
Oh my God.
I don't know if grifter's the right term for that.
The whole thing of get over it.
No, you're so right. I don't know. It never happened either. So it's in kind of like a irrelevant fear to have, you know?
That someone would call you that?
That like I would like go to an open mic or someone would be like, oh geez, here's Alaina, she's gonna talk about it again.
Yeah. You're like just my therapist where I show up and they're like, oh, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you and your work?
I am on everything at Alana Bamfield. It's ALAINABAMFIELD. My special is on Sam Talent's YouTube. You can just look up Untouchable and it should come up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast, is hosted by me, Gabe Dunn, and edited by me, Gabe Dunn. Theme song by Zach Sherwin and Sam Barbera. Bye!
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.